Hey there everyone, Level360 here back again for another video. Now, a while ago, I made a video talking about the Halo show, hoping that it would be good and trying to give a different perspective, considering the fact that at the time when we had nothing more than a single trailer, I feel like a lot of people were just being very overly negative about it. You know, like, oh my god bro, everything about it is so bad. So, pretty much my thoughts towards it was like, hey, give the show a chance, let's watch the show before we actually judge it. And now that a couple of months have passed, and now that the show is done, at least for its first season, I think it's about time that I revisit this subject to give my honest thoughts on it. Because hey, I think it should only be fair that I try to do that after making that entire video about it. So, let's get into the video. So, to give the show its credits for the two things that are good about it, to start off, the general aesthetic of the show when it comes to the location and the props is pretty good, and a lot of the time feels like it's something out of Halo, which is a good thing, and I'll give them credit where credit's due when it comes to that aspect. That, and also I feel like when the show isn't just wasting our time with characters which we just do not give a flying fuck about, the action manages to be pretty good for the most part, and I like how it actually has weight to it, and how sometimes, even though they took a couple of liberties with some things like making a single fire weapon like an automatic weapon, I do feel like the action does go hard in this series. But now let's go on to the parts which are just so bad about it, man. So, to start off with why the show is bad, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this show just lacks focus. Because here's the thing, I feel like the very first episode was a really good setup for how the show should have been, you know? With some people thinking that the Covenant are just like these non-threats which don't exist and are just propaganda, but then we actually see them. I feel like the show would have been better if it had the Covenant as the main focus of the plot. But the problem with the Halo TV show is that it tries to do too many things at once in one season. And due to that, things like the Covenant, which are basically like the iconic thing about this franchise, which are like the main big bad, are just pushed aside for all these other plot points which do seem interesting, but are just put there at the wrong place and at the wrong time. So for a certain point in the show, not only do you not have the focus on Master Chief or just the Unity trying to take down this obvious threat which shouldn't be just, I don't know, taken as a joke, but for the most part we're just put in these situations where we're just like, oh wow, that this guy is just now walking around doing fuck all while the Covenant are just doing whatever. I feel like if the show wanted to tackle certain aspects about the Halo series, or just like the Halo universe which weren't really done before, it would have been a great idea if it was done in a different time. But the thing about the Halo show is that if you just watch it as someone that probably didn't even play Halo, you're just like, oh, I guess the Covenant aren't all that much of a big deal. Because like, you play the games, you're like, oh yeah, these guys are not the type of guys you want to fuck around with. But in the show, they're just kind of like pushovers because you barely even see them. That, and also I just feel like the show has good concepts, but just decided to use them in the wrong season. Because here's the thing, I feel like making the Spartans more human and making them question about who they are is a great idea. It was done in Halo 4, Spartans being more human in Halo Reach, and 4 and 5 was awesome. But the problem is that we don't know any of these characters in order to deconstruct them yet. Because, yeah, I know Master Chief from the games, I know how he acts because I've played them, and I kind of know about how his personality is, even though he's a bit of a blank slate of a character. But then there's the Halo show to where I don't even know who this guy is in order for us to go through this entire character arc in order for us to deconstruct them. It'd be like if you were to make an Iron Man movie, or make just remake Iron Man, but instead of having it to where we get to know about who Tony is as a character, we just deconstruct them and then make him do the cool thing at the very ending, which is kind of what happens because, you know, it's a damn Marvel movie. But you get my point, you know, you can't deconstruct a character that we barely know jack shit about. There's that, and also the whole thing about how do I say it, oh yeah, the Unity being shady and being evil, in which I'm just like, yeah, it's it's obvious that they're evil to some extent, because like the entire reason why Spartans are the way they are is because they basically just kidnapped kids and gave them super steroids that rather killed them or made them into super soldiers, and pretty much everyone brushed it under the rug because there was aliens. But here's the problem: the show has a genlock thing to where it goes like, oh yes, this one faction is completely evil and this other faction is also evil, but it has no nuance, man. Like, here's the thing: I feel like incorporating the insurrectionists into the Halo story is good. You know, it's a cool idea just to see about how people are just affected by this in general, and how they, you know, just have to deal with this threat now that it's just known to humanity. Because that was lightly touched on in the books and never touched on in the games. But the problem is that the show lacks focus, and that stuff requires time and nuance. If you want to deconstruct the characters, do it subtly. If you want to make it to where one faction seems a bit sus in their actions and in the way about how they handle things, have it be subtle to where we slowly peel away the layers for how things go. Because with the way about how the Halo TV show does it, it's like, oh yeah, these guys are just fucking evil from the get-go. There is no reason why you should trust them at all. And also, these characters, oh yeah, just don't try to get like them because of their personalities or who they are. Just watch as we deconstruct them, even though you don't know jack shit about them. And then there's also this criticism that I hear from people that like the show by saying that, oh, you just want it to focus on action. Well, no, I'm not one of those people which just want it to be 90% hardcore action. Because trust me, I could just play the games for that. But the thing is that you can't tell a coherent story when you're trying to do 50 things at once, and you can't try to do certain things like deconstruct the character, which we don't know, and build a world which we don't know at the same time. Because the Halo show tries to do too many things at once in one season, we more or less have a gerbil mess of a story which has dissatisfied so many people. And I doubt that season 2 is going to change anything unless it's just a surprise shocker for how good it might be. So, at the end of the day, I feel like the Halo show could have been good. To some people it is, if you just aren't a fan of it and just want a generic sci-fi TV show. But at the end of the day, man, it's just ironic how we live in a world to where there were 2 Sonic movies that were just good as shit, which were almost damn near perfect video game adaptations in the way about how they presented themselves. But then you have Halo, along with the Resident Evil series, along with all these other modern video game adaptations, which just fall flat on their ass because they just can't replicate something that's pretty simple. But that's all I'm gonna say, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed the outro, and then, yeah, later.